Blake Ringenberg, licensed professional counselor, discusses the trauma children experience when losing their family home. The psychological impact can last a lifetime. Representative Frank Ryan's school district property tax shift elimination bill will provide a warm, secure home, ending the often hidden psychological impact of dislocation.
Al, thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, the last speaker, and then we'll come back and do a quick wrap up and I'll ask any questions, is Blake Ringenberg reached out to me about a month ago. And he said, Frank, I'd really like to tell you about the support I have for this concept and tell you about my practice area and the trauma that this has on families. And so I was really intrigued, and I've been unbelievably impressed with his capabilities. But I often tell people, when we were talking this morning, I said, you know, there's an interesting perspective because I've been dealing in that my entire life. My dad died when I was 3 years old. My mom had 5 children. My youngest sister was 6 months old when my dad died. And we struggled financially. And I often tell people my mom was my first workout client, and it structured and impacted how I did the rest of my life. This is really serious, and I'd like Blake to come up and show you and discuss with you that this is not just about the impact of property taxes on seniors, but it's an impact on property taxes on every Pennsylvanian. Blake.
All righty. If we look around the room today, we see a lot of adults. We don't see many kids. That's the one population that's not being represented very well here today. And that's who I work with, is children. So when I reached out to Frank, it was because I was seeing a theme with kids having what they call adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, due to losing their home. So my job as a clinician is to look at the etiology of the pathology, meaning where is behavior coming from in our kids. It might represent as ADHD, conduct disorder, ODD, but many times it's trauma. The best way to mess up a kid's development is to take away his primary secure attachments to his environment. You know, that is the root that keeps the tree growing for many kids, to kind of speak in Rogerian terms a bit. It is imperative, in my opinion, that we don't add to the trauma that kids go through. And this is something that I've experienced in my practice. You know, kid gets bullied at school, he comes home, he wants a safe place to say this is his home. But he might be in jeopardy of losing that home, and I've experienced that, and it's very sad to have that conversation with them. It's almost like making the kids of Pennsylvania live the movie Inside Out, sort of. I think we can do better than that. The adverse childhood experiences, if you haven't looked into that, there's good research on that online. But if a kid has a score of 4 or higher on the ACEs, he's 12 times more likely to commit suicide. You know? Why would we want to add to that? Why would we want to put another number on that ACEs assessment by taking away a kid's home? I don't understand that. And when trauma affects a kid, it breaks the lens as to how they see reality in the future. And this is the future fabric of Pennsylvania, is the kids. So why do we want them to look through the lenses of mistrust and just wondering when the rug is going to get pulled out from under them? I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea for our future. And the other thing that I'm noticing, because I work with a lot of young men, there's a bit of a failure identity or a learned helplessness that can be developed when they don't believe they can actually step into the realm of home ownership, which creates an extended adolescence for many young men. So you have young men living in the basement because they don't have the resources necessary to step out and buy their own home, to individuate and become autonomous young men, you know, that can, you know, lead strong families. So my basic contention here is that trauma affects the brains of kids. It puts them in a perpetual fight, flight, or freeze response. It produces adrenaline, cortisol, norepinephrine that makes it hard for them to sit down and do a math problem, to do their homework well. When a kid is living in a traumatized region of his brain, when he goes back to the amygdala fear response area and he is then asked to go to school, be polite, do his homework, and so forth, it's very difficult for them. So when we mess with the kid's secure attachment, when we mess with his environment, we are messing with many areas in this kid's life and this kid's development. So I would say we do everything we can to make sure that a kid can come home from school, he had a rough day at school, he knows that he can have a safe place to go to. You know, we're not going to take his home and all the attachments that he has with family and so forth there. We're not going to mess with that. That's a sacred place that we don't touch. So that would be my hope from a mental health perspective, that we work on helping kids feel safe and secure in their environment to give them the best opportunity to grow.